we really have a star lineup. This whole program is just incredible, and I really want to thank all of our speakers. Very sorry to rush anyone, Candy or Brad, Katie, or anyone. But we do have three more speakers, so we are asking them to be brief. And we're very excited to have from Albany, Chris Amato. He's an attorney with Earthjustice, which is a non-for-profit environmental law firm. He's been involved in the legal fights against crude by rail projects in the Port of Albany. Before joining Earthjustice, Chris was Assistant Commissioner for Natural Resources at Department of Environmental Conservation and was formerly Deputy Chief of the Environmental Protection Bureau of the New York Attorney General's Office. So, joining us from Albany, thank you, Chris Amato.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here. It's wonderful to see such a great turnout, and I am going to go through my presentation very quickly. Thank you for your patience this evening. So I'm going to be talking about just what's been happening at the Port of Albany. I think it's sort of a poster child for the environmental justice issues raised by the whole crude by rail situation. So basically in the Port of Albany we had two massive crude by rail operations. One is run by global companies, which has been permitted to handle 1.8 billion gallons annually of crude oil. And the other is Buckeye Partners, which is permitted to handle 1 billion gallons of crude oil annually. So it's about a 3 billion gallon annually going through the Port of Albany. The global facility is in a very sensitive area. It's located directly adjacent to a public housing project called the Ezra Prentice Homes, which has about 400 residents, over half of them being children. We have a lot of people there who have disabilities and have trouble getting around. They're in wheelchairs, there are walkers. Obviously, if there were some kind of accident that required evacuation, it would be a real challenge to get people out of that area. There's also not just Ezra Prentice Homes, but also a lot of other sensitive receptors and locations around that area. There's an elementary school that's just a couple blocks away. There's a senior center. There's a disability center. There's a lot of social service agencies that are located in that area. There's churches. So there's a lot of potential for people to be harmed if there's an accident at a global facility. So basically, the sort of recent sordid history of this is that back in 2012, Global applied to the DEC for permission to increase the amount of crude oil handled at their facility from 450,000 gallons a year to 1.8 billion gallons a year. DEC, for reasons that are extremely unclear to people who care about the environment, found that this would have absolutely no significant environmental impacts and issued a finding of no significance and issued the permit. So that immediately caused a huge increase in train traffic through the Port of Albany, and next thing we knew is that the company came back to DEC and said, you know what, now we want to bring tar sands oil in. That's what they've been bringing is Bakken crude. Okay. So, in January of last year, we sent a letter. Earthjustice, as a non-for-profit environmental law firm, we represent community groups, environmental groups, and we're representing the Ezra Prentice Homes Tenants Association. And on behalf of the Tenants Association and a number of other organizations, we sent a letter to DEC pointing out all the reasons why this particular proposal to bring tar sands in should be subject to an EIS. We also pointed out that the company's application, which had been deemed to be complete by DEC, was in fact incomplete because they had not included an environmental justice analysis, which they are required to do under the DEC rules. I should mention that when DEC initially considered this application for bringing tar sands in, they made another finding that this would have no significant environmental effects. So one of the things that we did was we we had asked DEC to withdraw the finding of no significant impact, withdraw the notice of complete application. There followed a lot of public meetings, very well attended. The community really got motivated and made their displeasure known to DEC. And in June of last year, we filed a lawsuit against DEC and Global challenging these decisions by DEC. As a result of pressure from the community, DEC did actually, for the first time in history, actually go out and start measuring what was going on with the air in that community. And what they found, lo and behold, was that the levels of benzene in that area, in particular at the Ezra Prentice homes, exceeded by orders of magnitude the annual allowable concentrations of benzene. Benzene is a known human carcinogen, and DEC was finally confronted with the reality of what the operations of the Port of Albany involving crude oil are actually doing to people's health in that area. Go ahead. So, lo and behold, on May 29th, just a couple months ago, DEC issued a letter of intent to Global announcing to the company that it was withdrawing the notice of complete application and withdrawing its negative declaration, and providing the company until July 1st to respond to this letter of intent, which they did with a almost 1,000-page response. No exaggeration, 1,000 pages, which was basically amounted to what appeared to be a temper tantrum that they weren't getting their way for once. But what was interesting about DEC's letter of intent was that it specifically referenced the potential impacts to the Ezra Prentice homes and the people living there. To us, that was a major victory. To just have DEC acknowledge that people who are living next door to this facility are suffering the impacts of the operations, and they include odor and air pollution and noise. Go ahead. So just to finish up, we at Earthjustice are involved in the crude by rail battle across the country. We have cases going on in Washington, Oregon, and California, all directed at facilities that are very similar to Global. And the common theme that you will see is that every single one of these facilities is located in a community that is either a community of color, low-income community, and they are always bearing the brunt of these operations. So thank you very much for your attention.
I think this is a crowd that likes to fight. We have a lot of resistance to do, and our next speaker is a wonderful collaborator and our wrap-up speaker, a wonderful resistor. Wes Gillingham from Catskill Mountain Keeper is a co-founder and program director of Catskill Mountain Keeper, an environmental advocacy organization dedicated to protecting the Catskill region in New York State. Wes has been a farmer. He also serves currently on the New York State Forest Preserve Advisory Committee, the Legislative Policy Committee for the Northeast Organic Farming Association of New York. And Wes, as you probably all know, or most of you know, has been a major force in fighting to ban hydrofracking in New York State. He played an important role. Across our nation and beyond against extreme energy and the fight for a renewable and just energy future. He is one of the co-founders of the Extreme Extracted Energy Collaborative, and I also want to mention, as someone who has been fighting fracking in Pennsylvania since 2009, that he's been a wonderful ally to frontline communities in Pennsylvania, North Dakota, Texas, and all across the country. So welcome, Wes.
arches. They're parts of an oil derrick, I took. So you've been getting lots of information, and I'm just going to read from my notes. Just kidding. I'll tell you what that big one is in a little bit. But you know, what have we learned tonight? Lots of information about toxins, exposure, possible accidents. We have industry running amok. I mean, 188 terminals in Canada and the U.S. 33 of those terminals are expanding. 51 terminals are under construction. At any given time, there's 9 million barrels of oil moving trains through North America. Trains moving oil through North America. We have the Pilgrim Pipeline proposal. This is part of a bigger picture that isn't just oil trains, barges, pipelines, oil pipelines. That wasn't enough. If you're in another part of New York State, Catskill Mountain Keeper is also involved with fighting the Constitution Pipeline, the Kinder Morgan's Northeast Energy Direct. These are all natural gas pipelines. There's the Spectra, the AIM pipeline. One of my favorites is the Dominion proposal. They're taking an old pipeline, some parts of it that's 40 years old, and they're just, instead of building a new pipeline or expanding it, they're just going to stick 3 extra compressor stations on it to pump up the pressure so they can move more natural gas. We're talking about this huge, so here you've got the addiction, and I couldn't resist. I was looking something up today, and I just pulled this. This is what showed up on the screen when I was looking something up about oil trains, and on the top, they had this huge thing that couldn't fit in the picture. The oil boom is here! And then below that is this thing to click on to get your investments, you know, monthly, 100% tax deductible. The oil boom is here. So that's what's happening across New York and across the country. I mean, that's why we started the Extreme Energy Extraction Collaboration. Because there's communities of people just like this in North Dakota. They're building a huge rail facility in Birmingham, Alabama. Richmond, California is dealing with Chevron and the Bakken oil that's going to that coast. It's a huge picture across the country. This is a picture of the Millennium Pipeline when they expanded it. Go to the next picture. What we have, though, is an opportunity. I pulled this picture out off my camera. There you see the oil trains in the background. This could be Albany or Kingston, the same, you know, the vigil that happened tonight. This is Richmond, California. This is where the Bakken oil is going to Richmond, California, and where Chevron, in the last election this past fall, spent $3 million on 4 seats in the city election to get their supported, elected cronies in to control, because of people were protesting the Bakken oil coming and the problems that were happening in Richmond, California. $3 million on a local election. You know what, though? They lost. So the Asia Pacific Environmental Network, Climate Justice Alliance, they all banded together. They created this. They had a big meeting. There was expanded organizing throughout the community. That's how they stopped it. 6 years ago, I remember having lots of conversations with experts, environmental leaders who'd been in many fights over the years, saying there's no way we can stop fracking. We just have to make sure it gets regulated as best we can. We proved that one. Industry wants to increase. And when we were planning this forum, we wanted to give people lots of information. Someone on the call, I think it was every time, maybe not every time, but if it wasn't every time on the call, it was every time she talked to me, she would say, you know, we really need to address the issue. A lot of people sit around and go, well, you know, the natural gas, that's one thing, but I mean, we all need oil. We all drive cars. We can't get away from that. Like, we need to address that issue. And we do use a lot of oil. That was the point of those. Make sure that doesn't keep going too far. Leave it on that. We all use oil. We all use this stuff, and what are the answers? What are the alternative solutions? There's a lot of solutions on energy. Catskill Mountain Keeper has a renewable NY program. John Wackman, who's doing Solarize Hudson, is here, and there's information on those tables. But transportation fuel is a hard nut to crack. But there are opportunities, and there's some really bizarre... I never thought I'd be standing up here quoting from this person, but I will. So this is what he says. I'm going to say something that is absolutely self-evident. The United States military depends too much on fossil fuels. The federal government uses 2% of all fossil fuels that America uses. The Department of Defense uses more than 90% of what the federal government does. The Navy, the Marine Corps, and about a third of what the federal government and the DoD use. So we use about 1% of the fossil fuel energy that America uses. That's a pretty big market. So this is the Secretary of the Navy. This is a speech he made a couple years ago. I've come up with 5 goals for the Navy, the most far-reaching of which is that by the year 2020, half of all our energy, both afloat and ashore in the Navy, will come from non-fossil fuel sources. We are making big strides. By 2016, we are going to deploy, not just put to sea, but deploy the Green Fleet, which will be a carrier strike group that uses only alternative fuels. I'm absolutely convinced that this is going to be another time when the Navy is going to lead the country in terms of changing the way we produce and the way we use energy. The Navy always led energy sources. We went from sail to coal. We went from coal to oil. And then in the 50s, we went to nuclear. We won't get stuck on that topic. And then he finishes by saying, this is not just an American issue, this is an international issue. It's one that we have been working closely with a lot of different countries in terms of research, in terms of how we do this, in terms of trying to pull us away from incredible reliance on very iffy fossil fuels. That's the Secretary of the Navy that says that. They're doing it because they have strategic reasons to do it. We have strategic reasons to do it too, because our climate's getting ruined and our communities are impacted and threatened by these things. So this big heavy document, the last thing I want to say is why I do what I do. One of the reasons is sitting here tonight with her friends from Earth Guardians, my daughter, Iris. But, you know, when we had kids, my wife and I, you know, would say like, oh my God, having kids now. You can sit in a room like this and listen to all these horrible things that are happening. But you can also think about it as, right now, it's a really exciting time to be a young person growing up and a person getting older and trying to prepare a world for their children. It's an exciting time when the Navy says they're getting off of fossil fuels. Or when the Pope comes out and does a 74-page encyclical and he says, at one extreme we find those who doggedly uphold the myth of progress and tell us that ecological problems will solve themselves simply with the application of new technology without any need for ethical considerations or deep change. But we need only take a frank look at the facts and see that our common home is falling into serious disrepair. If we scan the regions of our planet, we immediately see that humanity has disappointed God's expectations. That's pretty strong words coming from the Pope. Never thought I'd be quoting the Pope either. But that's the exciting time that we're in right now. We have an opportunity to defeat big oil, get them out of the next slide, put the sunset on oil and change to a new economy and make deep change, as the Pope says. Thank you.
Thank you, Wes. We are moving towards our Q&A, so please stay. Be thinking about your questions. I want to do a few things, and we're going to have a 3-minute blast of positivity from Jen Metzger in a minute as well. So I just wanted to thank the organizations that have been doing the work here and the individuals who have been doing the work to put this together. Many thanks to the organizing team. Jess Mullen, I would love these people to stand up, both because you're fantastic, they're hard workers, and they are Coalition Against Pilgrim Pipelines, so you might want to talk to folks afterwards. Jess, Sue Rosenberg, all of our speakers, but especially Kate Hudson and River Cooper, Jeremy, our third speaker, Christine Rocheman, and if you're with Coalition Against Pilgrim Pipelines, but you didn't just get named, bounce up for a second so people can see that we have a broader coalition. Jen, Jody, Jessica. Okay. We have incredible grassroots organizers. Also, a special thanks to Greg Sweeney for helping us be able to use the City Hall, this wonderful space. When I met the mayor, the first thing I did was say, "Can I have a stapler?" Everybody's been great. So I wanted to, while we are having Jen speak, you're looking at the activist to-do list. So this is moving into our to-do part. Jen Metzger is the town council member on Rosendale Town Council who introduced resolution opposing Pilgrim Pipelines, which passed. Was the first in New York State, so she made history with that, and she's also key organizer with the Citizens for Local Power and Everything Sustainable. Jen Metzger, thank you.
Thank you, Iris. Let's dispel the myth that we need more and more of this dirty, awful, polluting stuff moving in and through our state. So the Pilgrim Pipeline Company and the other fossil fuel lobbyists tell us we need more crude oil for New York, right? The demand is just growing and growing and growing. Well, the fact is, at local, county, regional, and state levels, here in New York, we're moving strongly in the other direction, toward a cleaner, greener energy economy that relies much less on fossil fuels, uses less energy, and sources more of it from renewable sources. Right now, many of you may know, the state is rewriting the rules of the energy system as part of a pretty sweeping initiative called Reforming the Energy Vision. The goal is to create a more decentralized, what's called a distributed energy system that relies much more heavily on renewable energy resources, energy storage, energy efficiency at the point of use, which is us, right? Our communities, residents, businesses, local governments, institutions. The New York State Energy Plan, which was recently released, sets some pretty impressive targets for reducing carbon emissions from fossil fuels and increasing renewable energy generation. Within the next 15 years, the state is to meet 50% of its electricity needs from renewable sources. Now, we here in Ulster County can and will go much farther than that. The county government, as Dennis mentioned, is now carbon neutral, purchases renewable energy credits for 100% of its energy needs. It's installed free electric vehicle charging stations, which is totally amazing, and has 2 major solar projects in the works that are going to generate 4 megawatts of solar power, which is pretty fabulous. The towns of Esopus, Woodstock, Rosendale, and others in Ulster County have invested majorly in renewable energy and energy efficiency and there are a lot of other projects in the works, plans in the works. Kingston, the city of Kingston, and the town of New Paltz were awarded state grants for major microgrid projects here, which is really exciting. And our area boasts the highest level of residential solar in the state. So, it's going on here in Ulster County, and there's still so much untapped potential. The group that I co-direct, Citizens for Local Power, is launching a major project to create an Ulster County Community Choice Aggregation, what we call CCA for short. It's a local power program that will allow our communities to decide where we get our energy from. Wouldn't that be nice, right? Democratically controlled, rather than by a utility board making that decision. And will help our residences, our businesses, our local governments make energy investments in renewable energy and energy efficiency. And now this is, this makes great environmental sense, and it makes great economic sense. There's wide support for this across partisan lines, because in Ulster County, per capita, $2,500 a year of our energy expenses leave the state, right? That money should be invested here. Those energy dollars should be invested here in our local economy. And that's what CCA seeks to do and will help us do. So I'm going to speed it up. If you're interested in getting involved in this project, let me know. I have a sign-up sheet. I'm going to close. Actually, I'm going to ask you to do 3 other things. First, if you have not signed the petition opposing the pipeline, please do so at the door. Secondly, if you did not get, I guess we're all out of Take Action handouts, so please look for an email from iHeartUpstateNewYork@gmail.com, and you'll be getting that Take Action alert. If you live in Kingston, and we now know there are many of you here, please sign up with Sue. Where did Sue go? Sue. All right. To keep Kingston in the loop and to really take action. And I'm going to close. Thanks so much.
Some more take action plugs. Anybody needs them by the side?
Okay, so thank you again to all of our incredible speakers. I want to invite Jen, Brad, and is John Bowermaster still here? Anyone who was part of the program, feel free to come up. If you want to stand, you can have my seat, so that we can all be part of the Q&A. And as always with Q&A, even though you're asking questions and the answers are up here, you have the answers. So we are really all in a circle together. So does anybody have a question? Right there. And we have a microphone, so just so everybody can hear.
I'm curious about the length of time that those permits that were issued have, if there is a length of time before.
Title V permits, I assume.
The permits in Albany? Yeah.
It's I can turn it on. Sorry. Okay, you got it.
Thank you. Kate's the only one who knows how to turn on this microphone. So, anyway, in answer to your question, the Title V air permits are 5-year permits that are renewed after 5 years. The first permit that was issued to Global that allowed them to increase from 450,000 to 1.8 billion gallons was issued in November of 2012.
Okay, over here, blue shirt.
Hi, I wanted to respond to something Candy Moss had said. She showed a slide there where a year ago a company had a 1 million gallon toxic wastewater spill that went into Lake Sacagawea, which which is the drinking water source for the Fort Whirlpool Indian Reservation. That company, Crestwood, loads more of the bomb trains than any other company. And they're also the company that the folks at Seneca Lake are focusing on. Crestwood at Seneca Lake is telling the 100,000 people there that get their drinking water, they have no worries. Yeah, a year ago, they dumped all this toxic wastewater in the drinking water supply for the Indian Reservation in North Dakota. So I would just try to link the bomb train message with the folks at Seneca Lake and encourage people to plug into them at wearesenecalake.org and try to help them out too. Thank you.
Thank you for connecting those dots. And the Seneca Lake activists are just incredible, so I really recommend going to that website. Just going to go over to this, bounce over to this side of the room.
Yeah, I'd like to know, I've heard that the governor of Oregon was able to ban the bomb trains. Is that true?
When did you hear that?
I have not heard that. I know that there are some community level fights going on. Actually, very interestingly, using local zoning laws and zoning and approvals associated with land use to try and stop the expansion of various terminals. But I have not heard that any state has been able to ban bomb trains. I think that some of the most aggressive legislation we've seen has come out of California, and it requires them to have adequate insurance and also emergency planning, and the industry has already taken that law, which is only a few months old, to court. So we'll see how.
But they did win.
And lost.
Yeah.
Okay, over here.
I have two brief observations and questions. One is, so I gather from the presentation that the mode in which oil trains burn is that they blow up first. First there's an explosion because of contained vapor, and then whatever has been blown half a mile away continues burning. If it is explosive, it would be interesting to get the energy equivalent in like pounds of TNT or tons of TNT. I think people are familiar with that, all the way back from the Cold War. How many thousands of pounds of TNT is one rail car worth? Number two, I'll try and keep this tight. So everything we have around us, cars, all our infrastructure is fueled by the carbon economy. We're now discovering that we don't need the carbon economy to produce those things. It's a holdover for 300 years of Western colonial exploitation of other people's stuff. The carbon economy is a dying organism, and dying organisms get dangerous when they're about to go extinct. I note that some of the principles of pilfering have direct connections to the Koch industries. If I want to be a conspiracy theorist, I ask myself, New York and California are the anchor states for, the socialist economies, etc. Is the oil industry trying to stick it to New York State, both with projects like Niagara and as well as moving oil through New York? Give all the liberals some real good environmental pollution in that York. Given that, I'm almost done here. If you're feeling pain, if you're worried about your kids, it's time to get pissed, if you'll let me put it that way. It's not just time to feel bad, it's time to get really pissed off. My question is, there doesn't seem to be any way to make this safe. You can't make the pipeline safe, you can't make the planes, trains, and automobiles safe. So really, the only real answer to fight for is to just end it. However, that's going to the enemy's capital, right? You're trying to eliminate them. That will inevitably be a harder fight, a bigger fight. It will produce more friction. So, are there stops along the way? How do you do it so that we're not bashing our heads against the enemy's citadel? Thank you.
I'll do a quick response to that and see if other people want to. Just to be really, really clear, stops along the way. We think we can stop flow pipelines before they ever get in the ground. They are really scared. This is a two-state movement. New Jersey and New York together have passed over 50 resolutions. New Jersey is passing resolutions in ordinances that have teeth, that are not just memorializing resolutions, but that actually ban, prevent industrial activity of that type in their towns. So we want to start doing that here. We really are building a movement, and they are a lot more scared than they seem. They reject this aura of inevitability. They are, after all, the two principals are from the Coke Industries. That's what they do. But we can prevent them. We can win this. The oil trades, we will stop them. It's a matter of time. There's an amazing movement, as Jeremy pointed out earlier. I think we have over 100 actions around the country this week. Over 100. In Canada. And in North America, in Canada and the U.S. So this is a really strong movement. It's not just us in this room. All the things that sometimes feel small. What is that? This? All the things that feel small sometimes, you're...
Turn that mic off.
Go Kate. Go Kate. And I'll just wrap up, but, people are blocking Seneca Lake. People are doing hundreds of nonviolent direct action and civil disobedience actions around the country. People are blockading FERC. People are really stepping up. So whether your thing is turning out letters to the editor, or getting more resolutions and ordinances passed, or whatever your level of activity, we need you. Lots of steps along the way.
I would just add to that. I mean, it's super important to work on stopping the infrastructure, the pipelines. That's a 30-year investment in, energy that we don't want or need, and that's a long-term investment that we have to stop. I mean, there's all of the actions we need to take to fight the bomb trains, the barges, but we also have to reduce our demand. And that is really about the message that I was really trying to send home, is that we as communities need to take control of energy decision making for our communities and build the alternative. I would, and yes, including solarize, and actually, we should bring John Markman up, or John, you should give some announcements about your campaign too. But
this summer is an extraordinary opportunity to do something positive. Solarize Kingston, we're exactly halfway through a 4-month campaign. Solarize Kingston is spearheaded by Catskill Mountain Keeper and Sustainable Hudson Valley. It is under the umbrella of Community Solar Meeting. It's sponsored. It's supported by the state authority. Does is make solar affordable. If you get enough sun on your roof, then you will pay less for solar than you pay to Central Hudson. That is almost a guarantee. It's worth looking into. We have 3 events coming right up. Solar Open House on Saturday, and here on Wednesday the 22nd is a community workshop in these chambers right here. And then 25th will be at the Kingston Farmers Market. There's those dates are on the flyer over there on the table. Look into it. It's the alternative to all of this fossil fuel. It is that quiet little solar array on your roof, delivering all the electricity you need in your home right downstairs.
Monday night in Woodstock, I believe 7 at the town hall in Woodstock. Another Solarize New York event is taking place in Woodstock at the town hall at 7 or 7:30.
Wednesday in Rosendale.
And Wednesday in Rosendale.
at the Rosendale Capital.
So, just see the website that everybody should go to find out the calendar of events for Solarize. So if you got it, solarizehudsonvalley.org. Go there, tell your friends and neighbors, go there, and go to the events. They're really excellent. They're fantastic and positive. We need to wrap up. try to take 3 questions in a row. You can keep the questions somewhat short, and then have kind of one last go from each of our speakers. So starting in the back, red shirt.
Hi, I'm from the American Red Cross, and I'm the disaster manager for these counties. And I think it's very important to really talk about the fact that there are no resources to deal with such a large emergency, because I think that can also bring in some communities that not necessarily are engaged, could be from a different political perspective. And I think emergency services should know if there's an emergency like this. We just don't have the resources. I can testify for that because I work in the 4 counties, Greene County, Ulster, Dutchess, and Columbia. So we don't have the resources, and it's a real danger, and I don't know what people are thinking when they do this. So.
I'm sorry, you were one of the 3? Real quick.
A few things briefly. First of all, my friend handed me a flyer that says 1 car out of the 200 per day that come through equals approximately 2 sticks of dynamite. As far as, we need the oil. I'm running my house on solar and my car on vegetable oil, which not everybody can do right away, but there are several studies, a Global Apollo project, a Jacobson study, you can look these up, and the Solutions Project.org saying how we could go to completely renewable energy as soon as maybe 2025, 2030, or 2050, depending on how aggressively it's pursued with existing technology. Now, I was in Woodstock the other day when the Colony Cafe closed, and I was trying to talk up this event, and I met some people that said, Kingston and Saugerties, they can go, we don't need them. Well, I think we really have a problem with reaching out to the broader community and being seen as a NIMBY type of thing. There's not enough variety perhaps in the faces here. That's an age-old problem. 6th and lastly, when I was in Florida, I was battling climate deniers big time in the newspaper there. There's no climate change, we're going cooling, blah, 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 blah. Well, so what? Skepticism is a good thing. If we're really going into cooling, all the more reason to be using renewable energy now. Maybe we'll need those fossil fuels during the coming ice age. Right now, we know how to do it, let's do it.
Thank you. Did you want to speak about Earth Guardians? Okay, then I'm very sorry. I think we had to skip. Did you have a question? We said Judith? Yes? No? Judith? Okay, so we're gonna have to wrap up. So last question will be Judith, and then we'll have a word from Earth Guardians. And we want to thank all of our sponsoring organizations. We have 17 organizations that co-sponsored and endorsed this.
I just want to bring people's attention back to that sign, oil no, green yes. On your to-do list, I suggest that we demand for oil right. Right now, that's still the issue. How do you keep our homes without water? We can turn to electricity if our plants are tied in. We have excellent energy. What are yours?
Mike. Okay. Thank you. And if anyone wants to learn from an expert about home energy audits, Judith is an expert on home energy efficiency. So, Earth Guardians is one of our endorsers, and we can't have 17 more, but we just want to have a word from Earth Guardians and honor the work that you're doing.
Really excited that so many people came out tonight. But, so I just wanted to mention, and talking about things that we can do, one thing that we're trying to do to build up to the UN climate talks in December is collect 1 million signatures from people all over the world pledging to be leaders in their own lives. Because as somebody up there was saying earlier, we are the consumers. We are the people who are buying from the fossil fuel industry and fueling this expansion, whether we like to or not. So if we can pledge to be climate leaders and take action in whatever way we can, whether it's coming to events like this, educating those who are around you, cutting down on driving and carpooling, in any way that you can, please sign the pledge. And if you know any youth who are looking to get involved in being climate leaders, send them our way. We want to ensure that our generation and those to follow inherit a healthy, just, and sustainable planet. Thank you.
Well, we said we'd end at 8:30. We have about 90 seconds. I feel like that radio announcer who gives like 10 seconds. I wanted to see if anyone from our speakers or organizers have just a 30-second thing to say. Sue?
I just want to remind anybody, if anybody is left here who's from Kingston, please come to see me so we can begin to get a core of people active right in Kingston. Thank you.
Kingstonians, go see the woman in the black shirt with the pretty blue scarf. And I'm also interested in helping with that. Anyone else want to add a last couple words? Then I would just say that we can do this. We are doing this. We will do this. We are stopping the pipeline. We are stopping the bomb trains. We will stop the barges. It's a matter of time, and our Solarize and our community choice aggregation and our REV projects are incredibly motivating, inspiring, and participatory right now, so you can get really engaged. If you want to see the video or find the names of the speakers from tonight's programs, you can go to protectingourwaters.com, just protectingourwaters.com. Some other Protecting Our Waters has the .org, but we're really a little nonprofit. And the video